good evening, and welcome into my podcast. My podcast. Great start, David. Welcome into my humble little podcast. I'm David Schuster, and in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to be joined by a good friend of mine and one of the giants in the broadcasting industry right here in Chicago. That's Mr. David Kaplan. You can follow him on Twitter as I do at the Capman. David, of course, hosting AM 1000, ESPN 1000, Monday through Friday with Jonathan Hood, also a good friend of mine. And you hear Cap all the time on NBC Sports Chicago talking about all the sports here in Chicago. And one of the reasons I love doing podcasts on Sunday night, because it wraps up the week. There's so much to talk about. And ironically, breaking news over the last, 45 minutes to an hour, as Tom Brady, he retired about as long as the Batman movie was, took me to watch the Batman movie the other day, 3 hours long. I promised, who did I promise? Jim Canavan, that I would do a review of Batman. I'll do that in just a second, but Tom Brady is back. He was retired for all of 39 days. It reminds me a little bit of Michael Jordan, because if you remember when Jordan retired, I think it was the first time, he said, well, I'm going to go home and I'm going to cut the grass and I'm going to be with my family, yada, yada, yada. And soon enough, he was playing baseball, and not too long thereafter, he was back playing basketball. So there are some athletes who just can't, throw in the towel for good. And I guess Tom Brady is one of them. This will be his upcoming 23rd season. Like I said, he was retired all of 39 days. I pray to God that he does not go out like Y.A. Tittle. And if you don't know who he is, just Google or ask Siri who he is. He was a longtime quarterback for the New York Giants, and he lasted way too long. And one of the famous pictures in sports, you see the blood coming down his head as he takes his helmet off as he got pounded into the ground. I think it was actually in a game against the Bears, the '63 championship. So anyway, Tom Brady is back. We're going to bring David Kaplan in now. We're going to talk about the NCAAs. The tournament brackets are out. Cubs and White Sox making moves already. Let's bring in David Kaplan, like I said, a good friend of mine. And there's Cap. Hey, Cap, I love doing this show, not only with you tonight, rather, doing the show, but we got breaking news. I mean, we talked a little bit beforehand. Tom Brady back already? I mean, he must really hate his family, because he said he loved his family. That's why he's retiring, but he must hate them if he only retired for 39 days. What's the story?
Yeah, unbelievable. His retirement lasted shorter than the Kim Kardashian, Chris Humphries marriage. So it's crazy. But it was, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'm sitting in the kitchen with my wife, Mindy, and Brady's on the TV, and he said, oh, yeah, I've had a good time. I spent the last 5 weeks with my family. Now I'm going to go play some golf. And my wife looked at me. What do you mean he spent 5 weeks? Now it's time to go golfing. I said, that dude's coming back. That's a fact. And boom, here he is tonight. And he was at Manchester United today to meet Cristiano Ronaldo, took his 2 sons. They flew over there. I've done that trip with my wife and one of our kids. It's amazing. I mean, an amazing trip. So, good for him that he got to do it. And I'm not shocked he's back.
I guess I'm not either. But I am a little surprised, I guess. But, if you take a look at the timing, and that's a big part of the story here, free agency opens up and you can start signing some people. And I guess Tampa Bay has a lot of free agents, even on their own roster. And so by Brady announcing that he's coming back, a lot of those guys who might have thought about going elsewhere, they now realize that they have just as good a chance of winning a Super Bowl right there in Tampa Bay as anywhere else. So there might have been some pressure. You don't agree with me on this one. There might have been some pressure by the organization. Announce it now, if you are, so we can keep all those free agents and maybe get some other ones around the landscape of the NFL. Who knows?
I wouldn't be shocked if he called them and said, hey, I'm thinking about, coming back. And they said, just let us know before Monday, because tomorrow is when the legal tampering window opens. Now, that's not to say that agents, hey, David, I represent this dude. You're my friend. Wink, wink. Let's talk on Monday, but what are we looking at here? Here's what we need. Bam, and they get the deal done. So I'm expecting it to be, as always, very active, and I'm sure Tom has told them for at least the last week, I'm back. I'm in.
Well, he is a freak of nature. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that he's lasted this many years, especially at that position. But, I really fear for the guy. He's what, 44 going on 45, something like that.
Yep.
I mean, how long can that body stand up to the rigors of being an NFL quarterback?
Well, he's a freak of nature, and he's a guy who trains much differently. He does not believe in pounding as much weight as you can. Hey, guess what? I'm benching 400 pounds. That's not where he's at. He does something called pliability,
Right.
which he said is very painful. And I talked to a guy in that industry, and I said, tell me about pliability. He said, dude, they go so deep into your muscles that it really is painful, but it allows you to withstand more hits. So I'm sure he knows what he's doing. I'm sure he's going to be great again.
Yeah, I got to laugh because someone put out a tweet, maybe it was Darren Ravel, who said you had to feel sorry for the guy who bought his last touchdown pass.
518 grand.
518,000. That guy's probably thinking, within 2 or 3 years, that's easily $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, whatever. It's not worth nothing now.
No.
Or next to nothing.
Crazy. I wonder if the auction house refunds the money. I wonder.
No.
Probably not.
SOL. You know what that stands for?
You got it. Blank out of luck.
All right. Anyway, so that's that story. But also within the last hour and a half, they had the NCAA tournament, which came out, the brackets and everything. The top 4 seeds, no real surprise. I'm going to give you real quickly, I'm going to make my prediction that none of the 4 seeds will win, top 4 seeds will win the tournament. I don't know who's going to win it, but this is not the strongest of number 1 seeds over to tournament's history. I'll just say that. It's there's a lot of parity, obviously. 9 Big Ten teams, and I love somebody on TV. I don't know if it was one of the commentators or even the president of the NCAA tournament committee who said, you know what? The Big Ten's got 9 teams. Go out and prove that you are worthy of it.
Right.
That's going to be interesting in itself. Illinois is going to play Tennessee, Chattanooga. Loyola is going to play Ohio State. I like Loyola in that game. Illinois really disappointed me in the Big Ten, so I could see them going out quickly. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, they were co-champions of what some say is the best conference. I know Jeff Sagarin, who's been around forever, Sagarin says that they were the second best conference. So if you're the co-champion along with Wisconsin of that conference and it's that highly rated, then you would think they would make a bit of a run. Maybe they don't get to a Final Four. But then I go back and look up Tennessee, Chattanooga. Dude, they got beef. They got perimeter play. They got good guards. That's a really good team. I think Illinois is in a real tough spot here in their opening game.
What's always interesting to me, Cap, they talk about the postseason tournaments. And I mean, once again, it's been proven out. Those tournaments are for money and money only. They mean nothing when it comes to the seeds. I mean, Iowa beats Purdue, and Purdue's got the higher seed, like I knew. Tennessee beats Kentucky. Kentucky's got the higher seed. So again, those tournaments are for money and money only. And God bless them. That's what, I get that part. But they have nothing to do with the seedings in the NCAA tournament.
Okay, so I would agree with you that they're about money, but I would also tell you they do give the Cinderella a chance to get in. When Purdue and Iowa played today, I watched the game. I watched all day. It didn't really matter. Davidson knew they were getting in, whether Richmond beat them or not. Richmond knew they weren't getting in unless they won. Memphis and Houston, another good game. Houston knew they were in whether they won that game or lost. So there's a handful that it matters for Cinderellas, but you're right. For the big heavyweights, so what if Duke lost to Virginia Tech? They're still a high seed.
Yeah, I guess Indiana got into the NCAAs by beating Illinois in that first round game. So, I got to eat my words a little bit here, but I'm trying to think what else might have stood out in the NCAA tournament. But it's wide open. I don't know who's going to win it. I never fill out brackets anymore, Cap. I failed miserably too many times in the past, so I don't do that. I just don't think any of the number 1s are going to win it this year.
Yeah, I actually have a ticket that I bought a few weeks ago on a team that is 70-1. 70-1. That would be the Wisconsin Badgers.
Love it.
I'm not telling you they're going to win it, but what I am telling you is they have the best player in the country, perhaps, in Johnny Davis. And at 70-1, and I'm getting the co-champ of the league, I couldn't turn the value down. So I have a nice ticket on Wisconsin.
That is a great long shot bet. Good for you for getting 70-1 odds. I don't think there's still 70-1. I'd
No way.
guess.
No
And by the way, Wisconsin's playing in their backyard in Milwaukee Friday afternoon or Friday evening. I'm going to be at those games in Milwaukee, so I'm looking forward to seeing Johnny Davis because apparently he's really good. I want to see him with my own eyes.
Yeah, and there's a couple of games that intrigue me. I told you I think Loyola has a real chance to beat Ohio State. I do. New Mexico State is a sleeper type team. Tennessee Chattanooga is a sleeper type team. I've got to pull up the bracket while you and I are on here for a while, and I'll give you a couple. I did, a lot of college basketball over the last several years. This year, I think I only did 10 games. Usually, I was doing 40 and 50 games in a season. But I'm going to pull up the bracket, and I'll give you guys a couple of plays that I think have a chance to be really good in that first round, which for me, I love opening day of baseball. I love the first day that we can gamble on college football. The start of the NFL is cool. The Kentucky Derby's one of my favorite events. The Masters is amazing, but there's still probably nothing like Thursday, Friday of the NCAA tournament, the first round.
Oh, 100% agreement on that. And Vegas certainly loves it. There goes those sports books are filled to the hilt on those games. By the way, I'm going to be actually this coming Thursday at a bar, and forgive me, I don't have it off the top of my head, with Fat Mike on 1252 Sports. We're going to be doing a live show down there with a lot of the games on in the background, and it's St. Patty's Day on top of it. What a great combination! The NCAA first round tournament and St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, that'll be a really fun weekend. There'll be a lot of people drinking and probably losing their money gambling. Like, I'm looking at the South bracket. I like Baylor. I think Baylor's a really good team. I'm a big Scott Drew guy. They're not going to struggle with Hartford in round one. But North Carolina and Wisconsin, now that is an interesting matchup. And then you've got some other interesting ones that are all in that bracket. I'm excited to see exactly how this goes. North Carolina is a really good team. I think they'll get past their first round game. I've told you what I think of Wisconsin, and Purdue has size. I think Purdue could make a little bit of a run here.
Yeah. I'm just taking a look. I always look at the number 2 seeds to see if any of them should have been number 1s. So let me see here. We got Kentucky as a number 2. We have, who else do we have as a number 2? We got Villanova as a number 2. We got Duke as a number 2, and Auburn. I know they said Cap, and I haven't looked to the next round of games, which will be at the United Center, by the way. Have we seen who potentially could be, those 4 teams could be at the United Center later on this month?
I'm trying to pull up the bracket and see exactly what we're going to have coming to Chicago, but that's always a lot of fun to be at. I remember when it was at the Allstate Arena, and I went, and Jason Kidd was playing for Cal back then. That's how far back we go. And then I remember, of course, Illinois playing Arizona. I'm sitting on press row, and they're down 15, and my wife's out of town. I'm like, all right, I'm going to order some dinner and get the H out of here. And then they come back and finish it off. It was pretty amazing.
I do remember. That's one of the greatest sporting events that I've ever been part of. I didn't play in it, of course, but I was, working that game. And I remember a lot of the writers, even after the fact, and even some of the broadcasters, sort of cursing because they wrote their game stories with about 4 or 5 minutes to go and then had to flip the switch, obviously, and change everything. It was one of the great comebacks of all time and one of the great stories. And then Illinois, obviously, didn't have to go very far for the region, for the Final Four, yada, yada, yada. Unfortunately, they lost to North Carolina that year.
Yeah, I remember that battle. They won that game. They get to the Final Four, and then they get to the championship, and they play North Carolina in St. Louis.
Yep.
And they had a shot. They were rolling. They were coming along, and then Marvin Williams, who was a bust as a number 1 pick, but Marvin Williams had a couple of stickbacks late, and that was the end of the dream. You know
what I also remember about that championship game and the semifinal also, and I was with, now the late Les Grobstein. We were both down there for those games, and they gave us credentials, and that building was about 7 stories high, so they had us sitting up on the roof. Well, the grabber, knowing, and you know how the grabber was, he sort of coerced ourselves, both of us, to get down to courtside. He always knew how to do stuff like that. So that's one of my fond memories of
Yeah,
that
I
time.
still cannot believe what you just said, the late Les Grobstein.
It is hard to believe.
It is. I mean, I used to listen to that dude driving in every day to go do the morning show, and I just enjoyed being around Les. He was quirky, and he knew he was quirky, but he was so much fun to talk sports with. I still remember the greatest Les Grobstein moment of my career. I am doing television at the old alumni gym at Loyola. It's UIC and Loyola. This is not an exaggeration. And Les is sitting to my right. Here's my play-by-play guy. Here's me. There's Les. Phil Bova, one of the great officials in the history of the sport, who's now retired. Phil Bova is calling the game. Ball, jump shot, comes off the back iron. Sherrell Ford is playing for UIC. He grabs the rim with his left hand. With his right hand, he takes the ball and he jams it back in. Unbelievable. Phil Bova comes running off the baseline. No basket. Basket interference because he grabbed the rim. It's the right call. I swear to you, Les stands up and he goes, "That's bullshit, Phil. He's on the air." And he stands up on press row. He's right next to me. And he's screaming at him. And here comes Phil Bova. Either sit down. I don't care if you're on the air. I'll have you removed from the arena. He goes, "That call was BS." He said, "One more and you're out of here." And Les sat back down and finished the game and would take his headset off and turn to me and go, "Was that a bad call?" "Oh, Les, it was the right call."
Hey, we could tell Grobstein stories all night long for sure. Oh, before I forget, because I did promise this one guy, Jim Canavan, that I would give my quick 15, 20-second review of Batman. I don't know if you saw it or not, Cap.
I did not.
Okay, first of all, I'm not the greatest superhero film freak, but it was a good movie, not a great movie in my opinion. I think there have been better Batmans. Robert Pattinson was okay in it. He's sort of the dark Batman. And any movie that's 3 hours is just too freaking long. My bladder at this age is starting to take a beating in these 3 hour movies, to be honest with you. So anyway, it's okay, but I'm not giving it 3 or 4 stars like somebody else. I'd say 2.5 stars at best. All right, enough of that. You mentioned golf before, Cap. I'm sure over the last couple of days you've been watching the Tournament Players Championship. I'm sure you've snuck some peeks at it, haven't you?
Yeah, I actually have a ticket on a couple golfers. I always like to play a couple of golfers. Well, I was out of the country. I'm wearing my Costa Rica hat right there. I just came back last night. Amazing place. But you can't bet if you're not in Illinois. So I didn't play anything. We got back last night. I logged on. I'm looking at the who's on the leaderboard. And I'm like, you know what? I like that guy. And so I played a couple of guys. I got a little ticket on Joaquin Neiman and another one on Paul Casey. But other than that, I have watched some of it today because I love golf.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a second also. But, they had a ton of rain over the last couple of days. That's why they're so far behind, and they're finishing up on Monday for the first time in almost 2 decades. And then they had like incredible winds yesterday. It was like 45-mile-an-hour gust, throughout the day after the cold rain. Yeah. So, I'm asking you because I know you love golf and you're really good at it. I'm just a hack, to be honest with you. But do you enjoy when the best on the planet have a hard time beating Mother Nature, if you will?
Yeah, I think it's cool. Would I want to see that every week? I love when it's pristine conditions and I can watch this guy, pipe a drive 320 and then from 170, they're hitting like an 8-iron. Bam, they're right there. Like Justin Thomas today, I was watching, and he was a guy I thought about playing, but I didn't. The odds were not that high. Justin Thomas on his first hole in round 3, boom, right down the middle, hits the next shot to 3 feet, taps it in for a birdie. And I'm like, how do you do that? It's just, he makes it look so freaking easy.
Yeah, I remember the first time I covered the old Western Open at Butler. And again, I've played golf my whole life. And, for me, if I have a handful of good shots, that's a good round for me. I don't even keep score anymore. It's just not that important to me. But to watch these guys who are so freaking amazing, who they could be like 2 feet behind this thick tree and they can just literally hook it or slice it around the tree, freaks me out how good they are. But I wanted to ask you, because much like I've fallen down some of the great mountains of the world trying to ski, I've also failed miserably on some of the great golf courses, whether it's Medina or Olympia Fields. What are some of the great courses that you've enjoyed, even if they're not some of the name courses? What are some of the great courses that you've enjoyed over your lifetime?
Well, I mean, I really love playing at the Glen Club in Glenview. It's a very challenging course, especially when they let the rough grow. I've played Medina number 3. I've played both courses at Olympia Fields. I've played Butterfield, but I mean, I played Medina. I mean, you can't get much better than playing Medina. I've been to the Masters as a fan, but I was there in 2005. I get a phone call from somebody who needs a big favor, calls me up. It's like 1:00 on a Friday. The Cubs have a game at 1:20. My phone is ringing. I literally just got off the pregame show. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous day, and it's packed at Wrigley. And this guy called, dude, I screwed up. I need 4 tickets for the game today. I'm like, yeah, good luck. It's sold out. The Cubs are really good. This was the 2004 season. They're battling to go to the playoffs. So I go down to the ticket office. Guy helps me out. He gets me 4 tickets. I go out. I give them to the guy. He said, hey, I really appreciate this. I'll pay you back. Nope, don't worry about it. It's like the second or third time like this has happened just like this. But he ends up going to the game, has a great time. The Cubs win. He says, hey, I'm going to call you next spring. Not going to tell you why. Just be expecting the call. I'm in Mesa. I'm standing at Fitch Park next to Jim Hendry, and my phone rings. I'm like, what's up? He said, hey, can you get out of there next Tuesday? Can you fly out to Atlanta? I'm like, I don't think so. I'm going to be here. You got to get out. There's this little course south of Atlanta. I'm like, no way. I know what he's talking about. He's like, yeah, we got to force him, and you're the 4th.
Ooh.
And I called back to WGN, and I said, hey, you got to let me get out of here. Here's why. And Spike O'Dell was there and said, you can play Augusta. As long as you agree to come on the next morning when you're flying back out, I'll get you off the show. Bam! I go play Augusta. David, it was the coolest experience of my life.
Well, and Spike was a big golf advocate. In fact, at Eagle Ridge, I think he either played there or lived there. I think the restaurant was named after Spike, wasn't it? There.
I don't know if the restaurant was. I know they had a dish there for him, and he did have a house there for a while. Now he lives in Nashville because he retired.
Right.
He retired in his 50s.
Good for him.
Yeah, he walked away. He did not like the direction the business was headed. He did not like the direction the station was headed. And he went, yeah, I'm out. See you later. And he left.
Yeah, enjoying the good life. I played Medina. I've played it a couple of times, actually, before the Ryder Cup and also before the last PGA, I think was there a couple of years ago, whatever it was. And when we played it on the media day, first of all, it was like 100 degrees. It was ridiculous. And they had us play the same length that the tournament was going to be another week. It was like 7,700 yards. Cap, it brought me not to my knees. It destroyed me. It's too effing long for me to play 7,700 yards.
So I played Dubs Dread when they had one of the tournaments there. And they said, would you be willing to play it from the back tees? It had rained the night before. And I can hit the ball a pretty long way. And I said, well, what are you offering? They said, if you break 100, you can go in the pro shop and basically take anything you want. There's no way you're going to do it. And I said, okay, I'm in. Bam, I hit the first tee shot right down the pipe. Hit the second shot. I'm on the green. I 2-putt. I got a 4. I'm like, here we go. And I ended up shooting 114.
Wow.
It was so hard. I got overwhelmed. I hit the ball and it would plug, lifted clean. And now I've got 182 uphill it's still moist to get to an elevated green. No chance.
It's so funny because the first time I played Dubs Dread, I parred the first hole also, sort of similar to what you're talking about. I didn't shoot 114. I think I shot 314 and lost about a dozen balls in the process doing it. But you know what? As they say a lot of times, a bad day on the golf course even beats a good day in the office. It's so much fun. I love the sport. I don't keep score, like I said, although I do remember what I get on each hole, to be honest with you. So, all right, I had 5 pars and 2 birdies or something like that at the end of the round. I'm happy with that.
It's just a fun sport to be out playing.
It is. All right, let's talk about a few other things. We got some trivia questions at the end. I want to test you. Some of them are tailored to your expertise, which is, a lot, by the way, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Baseball is back. 99 days. So obviously their lockout was a lot longer than Tom Brady's retirement.
Yeah.
But 99 days, you knew it was going to get settled, and you knew they'd play the full 162. They were just pulling our chain the whole time.
Agreed.
There's just too much money on both sides. So that was just a charade. But the Cubs and the White Sox have already made some moves. A lot of people go, well, who's Joe Kelly and who's Josh Harrison? But those are good moves by the White Sox the last couple of days. I don't really know too much about this Vince Velasquez, although he's, a power arm. They gave up Carlos Rodon. I get that. They were never going to sign him, not with his agent. And the Cubs so far have signed Andrelton Simmons, so they're not going to obviously get Correa. But I do like the Cubs pitching, so I think it's going to be a fun season on both sides of town, Cap.
Yeah, I'm not convinced the Cubs have enough offense. I really don't think they do.
Not to win it all.
But I'll start with the White Sox. So Vince Velasquez, if you'll remember, you might have been at the game. He was playing for the Phillies, and they had to put him in the outfield.
Right.
And he actually made a hell of a catch and a really good throw. You remember?
I do remember.
Yeah. He's the guy pitches in goggles.
Right.
He's okay. He's an average pitcher, a very talented athlete. Josh Harrison, the Dodgers were in there. There were a bunch of teams trying to get him. And Tony La Russa has a lot more sway than people want to give him credit for.
Correct.
And he was able to get him. And then Joe Kelly said today, I just was looking at the transcript of an interview. He said, yeah, I had a bunch of teams calling it. When Tony called and said, come with me, we can win a World Series together, I went in.
Yeah, these are good moves. Like I said, a lot of people go, well, who are these guys? These are the people that fill out a roster to make it complete. That's who these guys are. Harrison's going to be your starting second baseman. Lurie Garcia now is able to move around all over the diamond. I still like Gavin Sheets to be a right fielder. I really do. They have other people. The White Sox are just loaded. They got to stay away from injuries. Kopech is going to be a key in the starting rotation. Let's see how they handle him going forward. The White Sox are loaded, and they still have that trading chip in Kimbrel, whether it's going to be before the season starts or sometime during the season. He is going to fetch you what you need to maybe get over the hump.
Or he's going to find the ability to pitch behind Liam Hendricks, and all of a sudden, whoa. People don't realize his daughter has been very, very sick.
Right.
And one of the reasons he did not want to leave the Cubs was because she's being treated by amazing doctors here in Chicago, where we have an incredible medical community. And so when Jed Hoyer came to him and said, hey, I need to see if I can deal you. Is there anywhere you'd go? He said, call the White Sox. If I can play for them, I can do this. And that's how it went down.
Yeah, I still think ultimately, though, he wants to first of all, I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer anyway, but I think he wants to further enhance his credentials to get into the Hall of Fame, and he wants to be a closer. And by the fact that the White Sox have picked up even Kelly and today Velasquez, they have so many arms now, Cap, that I don't know if they can even – well, I mean, they could fit him in if they want to, especially with baseball changing to 5- and 6-inning starters nowadays, which is idiotic also. But – I just think ultimately he's their trade chip that allows them to get whatever they need somewhere down the road, if he's agreeable to it, of course.
Yeah, but I don't think you're getting like a monster package back at this point.
No.
Now, if you tell me he's pitching really, really well, you never know, too, because what if Liam Hendricks struggles?
Well, that's true.
So I think they'll let it play out unless somebody calls and says, okay, what do you need? oh, you need this? I can make that work because he truly is a closer.
No, you're correct about that. And you never know, there's an injury in spring training and somebody else's closer goes down. Then all of a sudden you're in the catbird seat. No question about that. All right, we talked about the Cubs. I agree with you. Their offense is not up to snuff. I do like Madrigal. I'm really sorry that the White Sox had to give him up. I know a lot of people tried to find some fault with him. I'm not one of those. I mean, the jury's still out for a lot of reasons.
I like him like you do, much more than others.
Me too. He's the prototypic number 2 hitter who's going to bat control, who's going to probably hit 300, get on base, do all the things that help you win games. And I'm very old fashioned. You know that about how I view baseball.
And it's funny because the White Sox fans who blast him were the same ones that were cheering, oh, this Nick Madrigal, man, he's going to be the face of our team. He's a stud. And as soon as he goes to the Cubs, yeah, we didn't want him. He's not that good anyway. My partner, Jonathan Hood, who I adore. Yeah, Madrigal, he's not good defensively. He's this, he's that. Yeah, And if he goes out and wins a batting title or is hitting 310 and playing real solid defense, you're going to watch these Sox fans go, oh, I didn't think he was that good.
Yeah, well, the proof will be in the pudding, and it'll be up to him to prove himself, which I think he will on the north side. All right, let's switch over to football. The Bears made a lot of moves. Again, free agency is about to start. I don't think they're going to be in the running right off the back. The MO apparently is that he'll take his time, Ryan Poles, and maybe get some diamonds in the rough, but not the big names right off the bat. But he made news this past week by trading Khalil Mack. I had no problem with this trade whatsoever. I mean, you weren't going to win with Khalil Mack. I didn't even like the trade when they made it back then. I was in the minority on that.
I loved it.
Okay. I mean, I was in the minority. I totally get it. I'm a big believer in the drafts. If you can have 2 number 1s back, you'd probably be a lot better off, obviously, but whatever. Mack for a 2 and a 6. Okay, that's what he's worth nowadays, especially considering that the Chargers, rather, are going to pay his whole salary. That's why you're only getting a 2nd and a 6. So the money that they're saving from him and the money that they're saving from releasing Eddie Goldman and Tariq Cohen, I don't know if they're going to spend it this year, Cap, but in 2 years, got to give this guy a chance to build this roster. I am going to give him a chance. He's going to have a lot of money to work with over the next couple of years.
Yeah, if they don't go crazy now, right now, today, I think they have 141 million in cap space next year. 141.
That'll pay your salary.
Yeah. Oh, funny guy. No, talk to my ex-wife. She gets it. So yeah. So it is what it is. So anyway, I look at his team and feel like, okay, Khalil Mack didn't play much. Trevathan didn't play much. Tariq Cohen didn't play a snap. Eddie Goldman missed the COVID year, and this year he wasn't even there for all 16. If you take the number of snaps those 4 dudes played, you really haven't injured your team yet.
No. Yeah. Again, jury's out on the new coach. Jury's out on the new, man in charge, if you will, the Ryan and the new Ryan and Matt, if you will. But I'm going to give him the chance to do it. And Cap, my big prediction, and maybe you'll agree with this, I think they are, I don't know when it's going to be finalized. They're going to be playing in Arlington Heights.
No doubt.
In about 6 or 7 years maximum. Do you agree with that?
100%. And I think it's less than 7 years.
Okay.
I do. I think there's no way you go down the road like they did to purchase the land. A. B. You got to be brain dead to not go there and look and go, wait a minute. We could build up all around here. We could sell off a portion of the land if we need to, and we could build a palace. And all of a sudden, Final Fours, political conventions, music acts, all sorts of stuff, and the Super Bowl would be here.
And a casino because they have a business partner. Was it? Okay, so there you go. Hotels, restaurants. They're worth $3 going on $4 billion. Once they finally build that place, which I think is going to happen, and after it's been around for about 3 or 4 years, the Bears franchise is going to be worth $10 billion. And that's when the McCaskey family will probably look maybe to sell at that point.
Yeah, I'm hearing some very disturbing news that Virginia is not well. Virginia McCaskey. I wish her all the best. I've met her and talked to her many times. She's a lovely, lovely, classy lady. So I hope that she can pull through of whatever she's dealing with. But that is the talk behind the scenes.
Right.
The other thing is, so Darren Ravel or Adam Schefter, I think it was Ravel, but it might have been Schefter, said he was talking to an owner of a middle market NFL team. Not the Cowboys, not the Giants, the Jets, the Bears, the Rams, none of those. So I'm trying to guess, is it Denver? Is it Carolina, Atlanta, somebody like that? That owner said, with the advent of sports gambling, once all 32 NFL teams have legalized sports gambling in their state, which he said is sooner rather than later, the average NFL team will be worth $8 to $12 million.
Amazing.
Can you imagine what the Chicago Bears with the new stadium will be worth?
15 to 20 at least.
Probably right.
I mean, good for them, I guess. All right, let's go to the Bulls now. The Bulls have been a really good story all season long. I'm just going to cut to the chase here. They're not winning any championship. It all depends on what kind of matchups they have in the postseason, who they face, even in the first round, Cap. I mean, they could go out pending on where they finish seeding-wise going into the postseason, because the East is better than a lot of people thought. Milwaukee's an overall better team. I don't see them beating Milwaukee. I don't see them beating Brooklyn if they face Brooklyn or Philly or Miami. So it depends what their matchup is. DeRozan's been a fantastic story, and he will finish in the top 5 of the MVP. I think he's starting to run out of gas a little bit. His shooting percentage is down over the last 5 or 6 games. He's still amazing. And Zach LaVine is not going to be at 100% the rest of the season. So it's been a great story, but I just don't think they're equipped to win any kind of championship and even make a deep run, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they win a first-round series perhaps and then get knocked out in round 2. And I'm amazed by the number of people on social media blasting the Bulls. They're overrated. They're not this. They're not that. Where were they less than 2 years ago? They had a punch clock. They had a coach who was ridiculous. They had not much talent. They was talked that Zach LaVine wants no part of being here because of the coach and the front office and the whole deal. And now here we are less than 2 years later, and they've got a team that's going to be close to 50 wins. They probably win a first-round playoff series. And then let's see how Patrick Williams develops, how Lonzo Ball is when he comes back. Caruso made them much better defensively last night.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have a first-round pick this year. We don't know what superstar comes out, Damian Lillard or whoever, and says, yeah, you know what, I'm out. I want to move on. That's the way that league is. And all of a sudden, that superstar says, I'll go to Chicago, and the Bulls make a trade, and you look and go, whoa, where'd that talent come from? So, again, it hasn't been 2 years. Relax and enjoy the ride.
And basketball, I think a lot of people who know me know that basketball is always going to be my favorite sport, to participate in and view and report on. I just love basketball to pieces. All right, one last major team in town, the Blackhawks. They're not going anywhere this year and probably won't for a long time. But I continue to be amazed by Patrick Kane. What a great, unbelievable talent he is, Cap. He's still in the prime of his career and probably will be for another 2 or 3 years. And as great as he's been, Cap, can you imagine if they would have just had the same line mates for him consistently? Like, you always think of, the French Connection line in Buffalo or some other great lines where they stayed together. When he was with Panarin, for instance, I mean, that was golden.
Can you name the French Connection line?
The French Connection, yeah.
Can you name the 3 guys?
Oh, Perreault, Martin, and I can't remember the third guy at the top of my head.
Richard Martin, Gilbert, Perreault, and Rene Robert.
There you go. They were great.
Amazing.
So, I don't want to say that they've undercut Kane because he's been fantastic, but every year, seemingly, they've had different line mates with him. Can you imagine if he would have had the same line mates on a consistent basis, how even better he would be?
Yeah, he's incredible. What he's done, with his career and with his life, I think it's a really cool story. Funny story. So he gets drafted. The next day, he's at Wrigley throwing out the first pitch. I'm there to do pre and post for television. And so I am at Wrigley. I'm sitting in the lunchroom. You've been there a billion times.
Yeah.
And it's like the 6th inning, and this little kid walks in. And you know what he looked like then. Skinny. I mean, that dude would look like he was 9. He walks in. It's just the two of us in there. He walks in. He's looking around. I'm like, "Can I help you, son?" And he said, "Can I get something to drink there? Is that available, or do I have to pay for it?" I said, "No, help yourself." I said, "Is your dad one of the broadcasters?" That's what I said. "Your dad doing the game?" He's like, no. I said, "Well, who are you? What are you doing up here?" "I got drafted number 1 in the NHL draft last night." Yep, that was me.
Yeah, if you go back and take a look at some of the pictures of him when he was a rookie, I mean, he does look like he was about 12 years old. It's been I won't call it a metamorphosis because, he's still a good-looking guy and all that. But yeah, he's aged to the point, where is he now? 32, something like that?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, before we get to our trivia questions, I got one more. I want to go back to golf because I'm sure you might have seen this today. It was at the tournament, and Shane Lowry on 17. And would I love to play that hole at the TPC?
Yeah.
I don't care if it would have taken me 20 shots. I would be like Tin Cup. I would keep hitting them in the water, just to get one on that goddamn green.
Wouldn't that be amazing? So Teddy Greenstein, there was a bet the last time they played this tournament last year, and his wife, I think, I want to say it was 150 to 1 that someone would make at least a 10. And some dude in the water hits it on the green. It rolls off in the water. Next guy in the water. And then he puts it on and makes the 1 putt to make a 9. So she doesn't win her bet. The next group comes in, pipes it in the water long, short, hits it on right by the pin. It keeps rolling in, hits another one. It ends up making a 12, and she cashes for $1,500.
Good for her. These are the best players in the world. We talked about that earlier, but over the last 2 days, and it's only 100, I think it was only 135 yards today. There were 50 balls in the water the last 2 days. These are the best in the world.
Crazy. It's literally insane.
I'd love to do it once. All right. Ready for some trivia questions, my friend?
Rock and roll.
All right. The first one, I know you're going to know this one, because I think your favorite athlete, or one of your favorite athletes of all time, is a 4-legged athlete, of course. That's
number
Secretariat. Number one. You've always told me that. Secretariat is your number 1 athlete, and deservedly so. And by the way, Secretariat, 21 races in his pro career, 16 wins.
Yeah.
Pretty freaking amazing. All right. He lost, he won the Triple Crown. That was one of the great stories. But right after and I know you know this answer, right after the Triple Crown, in his next race, and it was at the Whitney Stakes at Saratoga, he lost.
Did he lose to Engelite?
No.
Did he lose to Sham?
Sham he lost to at the Wood Memorial right before the Triple Derby.
Because he was hurt. He had a abscess in his mouth, and every time they pulled on the reins, it was killing him. And the abscess broke 2 days before the Derby, and otherwise he was going to be scratched.
Yeah, see, I don't know why I always remember this. I remember the name of the horse that beat him right after the Triple Crown. He won his final race. It was in Ontario, Canada, or something like that.
Yeah, it was the Woodbine was the
Correct.
last race he ran.
Correct.
It was cold, and the steam was coming out of his nostrils like a locomotive.
Correct. But right after the Triple Crown at Saratoga, the Whitney Stakes, and he went off as a 1-10 favorite, he lost. I watched the race about an hour and a half ago. He got caught on the rail. Do you remember the name of the horse that beat him? Wire to wire, in essence, too.
Oh, tell me.
Onion.
Onion, that's correct. Yep.
It's such a weird name for a horse. I've always remembered that. Okay, we'll move on. Here's a good one, and I got most of these, but I didn't get them all. There have been 8 quarterbacks who have been the number 1 overall draft pick. 8 number 1 overall draft pick quarterbacks who have won the Super Bowl. Who are they?
Jim Plunkett.
That is 1.
Peyton Manning.
That is 2.
Matthew Stafford.
You froze for a second. Say that again.
Matt Stafford.
Stafford is 3.
Let's see here. Number 1, Joe Namath.
Joe Namath was the hard one because he was drafted number 1 in the AFL. So very good. You got the hard one, actually.
Let's see. That's 4. There's 8 of them, you said?
Yes.
Troy Aikman.
Troy Aikman is another one. Yes.
That's 5. And people don't realize they drafted Dallas 2 quarterbacks with the number 1 overall pick in the same year. They had a supplemental draft. They took Steve Walsh, number 1.
Oh, okay.
Then the next draft, they took Troy Aikman. Let's see. That's what, 5?
Yep.
Trying to think of the quarterbacks who Andrew Luck never won one.
Nope.
Tim Couch went number 1, never won one. Did Eli Manning go 1 or 2?
He went 1, so that's 6.
He got traded. That's 6. Wow. I got 2 more I got to go. Matt Ryan would have. No, he went 3rd. Matt Ryan was the 3rd overall pick.
I will tell you that these last 2 won more than 1 Super Bowl.
Wow, they won more than 1 Super Bowl? Who was the quarterback at Tampa when they won the first time? No, that was Brad Johnson. He didn't go number 1.
You can play this on the air in the morning tomorrow. Credit me.
I will. Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick. Drew when they had to be the starting quarterback or on the roster?
Well, they were the quarterback who won the game, Super Bowl.
Okay, so not Drew Bledsoe.
No.
Because he was on the roster, I believe. Jim Kelly never won one. Fran Tarkenton didn't win one. Cam Newton didn't win one. Who else?
Terry Bradshaw.
Oh, yes. Because the Bears got Lionel Antoine in the same draft.
From my alma mater, Southern Illinois.
Correct.
And John Elway.
I should have got that one.
So that's a good question. All right. Here's another one. Okay. NFL draft, college football. There's only twice in NFL history has a school in back-to-back years had the number 1 NFL pick in the draft. What school and who are the players?
Wow. Number 1 NFL pick back-to-back years from the same school.
It's a tough one.
Yeah. This is a really tough one. Is the school Alabama?
No.
School is not Alabama. Deshaun Watson didn't go number 1.
I will tell you, though, that both these schools have been football factories over the years.
What do you mean both these schools?
Well, there's 2 sets. It happened twice in NFL history where back-to-back years a school produced the number 1 overall pick. It's happened twice. And both times these are from football factories, if you will.
Would it have been from Michigan or Ohio State?
Neither.
Tell me.
If I give you the schools, yeah, okay, I'll give you the schools. One is USC, the other is Oklahoma.
So USC, the other is Oklahoma. So are we going way back?
One of them, yes. The other one, no.
USC, Sam Darnold didn't go number 1. Reggie Bush didn't go number 1 because they took was it Mario Williams, I think, went number 1 to Houston, to Charlie Casserly.
I can give you a hint.
Give me a hint.
I'll give you a good hint without a bad hint. Think of a commercial with a football player running through an airport.
Oh, OJ. Okay.
So OJ was 68, and then a teammate of his in 69 was the number one overall pick. Oh, no, actually, OJ was 69. His teammate from 68 was the overall number one pick.
Mike Garrett?
No, it's a good trivia question. There really is.
Pat Hayden?
Offensive lineman.
Offensive lineman in the late 60s?
Vikings.
Ron Yeri?
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. All right. So the other time this has happened, very recently, if I give you the school, you get it in a second. So I'll give it to you.
Oklahoma, they went number one. So, and Ndamukong Suh?
No.
Where did he go? Oh, he went to Nebraska.
Right.
Knew it was some farm country. Oklahoma. So Aikman?
No.
Adrian Peterson?
No. Quarterbacks, very recently, back-to-back years.
Kyler Murray.
That's one.
And another quarterback went number one overall? Hold on a minute. Kyler Murray being one of them.
Cleveland Browns.
Oh, Baker. That's a pretty good trivia question.
These are really good trivia questions. I got some more. Okay. Teams that they ended up with, you'd sometimes forget about this. What was Bobby Hull's last team that he played hockey for?
Bobby Hull's last team that he played hockey for? So he played for the Blackhawks, and then he played for the Winnipeg Jets. Did he play for someone else after that? Well, it wasn't back here in Chicago.
No.
Was it a Canadian team?
No.
It was an American, a USA team. Who the hell did Bobby Hull play for? Did he play in Florida?
No.
I don't know. Who was it?
Hartford Whalers.
Wow.
And you know who was his teammate?
Joel Quenneville.
Gordie Howe.
That's right. Gordie Howe did play there.
And Bobby Hull could not wear number 9 because Gordie Howe wore number 9.
Wow, I don't remember him doing that. How long?
Not very long, to be honest with you. I'd have to look that part up. That part I'm not really sure about. All right, let me move on to another one. Talking about final teams. Patrick Ewing and Hakeem Olajuwon both went out in 2001 for teams that you just would never remember. Who were they? Their final teams.
Did Patrick Ewing play for Orlando?
Yes.
Hakeem Olajuwon didn't just play for the Rockets?
No.
Minnesota?
No.
Hakeem Portland?
Toronto.
Wow. I don't remember that one.
Yeah. All right, let's see. All right, here's the one. A couple more. What manager lost the World Series, was fired, and then became a player coach for a different team the following season?
Player coach?
The following season, after managing for a different team and losing the World Series, he got fired after losing the World Series. Famous name.
Famous name. Billy Martin? Famous name. Because I know Johnny Keane managed, I think, the Cardinals and then quit after the World Series and went to the team he just beat.
That would be a good one, too.
I don't know. Who?
Yogi Berra managed the 64 Yankees and lost. He got fired after the series and then became a player coach for the 65 Mets.
Wow. Now that you said it, now I remember. I would never have gotten that.
Okay. All right, give you one last one. The NHL has got the Stanley Cup, of course. What was the name of the trophy that the WHA gave for the champions?
Oh, wait, I know this. The WHA's trophy. The Avco Cup.
Very good.
Bam!
Very
Take
good.
that.
Very good. You know what's funny about this story? Because I looked it up today. It was the Avco Cup, and I think Avco was obviously a sponsor or something like that. But they didn't have it ready the first year to give to the champions for whatever reason. I don't know. It got stuck in the store or something like that. So when they went around the ice, and who won the first one? It wasn't Winnipeg. I can't remember who won the first year. They had to give them the not the championship trophy, but they gave them the trophy that they won previous for like the preceding playoff series. So they're going around the ice waving the thing that they had already won.
What a joke.
Sports is great when you can look up this bullshit.
The best.
It is. It is. Hey, can I bring in real quickly our producer who's extraordinaire? That's Harry Berg. He does a lot of podcasts. Harry, why don't you come in real quickly if you can?
Who, moi?
Yes, you.
Harry.
And Harry also is he's a gambling savant, but he's also what would you call yourself, Harry? Help me out.
I'm a professional handicapper.
There you go.
I play a lot of sports, and
I know, Cap, that's a little bit up your alley because you dabble a little bit, which is legalized now, by the way. So
I don't dabble; I do it every day.
Okay, there you go.
Cap, that's why I want to ask you some questions.
Bring it on. My wife's yelling that sushi's here, but I'd rather do handicapping with
All right,
you.
well, we won't go too long.
Cap, honestly, what do you think? Forget the parimutuel end of it. What do you think of sports books being in almost every major venue in any sport? Because first off, before you respond to it, I'm going to tell you, I'm an advocate for gambling. I don't agree with this. And I'll tell you why in a minute.
Well,
go ahead. I'd love to hear your answer.
I don't have a problem with it because I went to see Manchester United play Chelsea in England. And we're sitting there eating at this really nice, like they have these different restaurants at the stadium. And my wife, Mindy, my son, Garrett, and me. And we're sitting there, and this nice lady walks up. And she said, "Hello, would you like to make a wager on the game?" I'm like, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Would you like to make a wager?" I said, "Am I betting against you?" She said, No, love." And she hands me this piece of paper. And you circle, okay, that's who's going to score the first goal of the game. That's going to be the total. That's going to be the score. I got like $400 riding on this game. And my son is a huge Manchester United fan. So he's like, "Hey, we got to play whoever, Jesse Sanchez or whoever it was, to score the first goal." Wouldn't you know it, that guy scores for Chelsea. It's 1-0. And then freaking Jesse Sanchez scores. But we had Manchester United to win the game, and they did. So we broke even.
Oh, wow. That's actually pretty exciting. But,
Cool.
I have to tell you, man, that's a great story. And by the way, I love Chelsea in the Premier League. That's pretty cool. I mean, I understand why he likes Manchester United. My feeling is this, and it just comes down. I mean, if everyone remembers, 5-10 years ago, there was an NBA referee that got busted,
Tim Donaghy.
Correct. I didn't want to say his name, out loud because, I don't want to be indicting when I say that. But it's not going to stop. It's already starting to hit some of the players in the National Football League. And of course, the NFL is going to bury this under the rug, Cap. And I'm going to tell you why. Back in 2002, when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to the Super Bowl, Las Vegas wanted to do a commercials to promote their city. And the commissioner for the NFL goes, "Oh, no. That's the devil. You can't have it. Has no spot in the National Football League. It never will."
Yeah, until the money rolls in.
2017, we're like, well, maybe, but we're not too sure. 2019, during the collective bargaining agreement, and then everything started to come to fruition. It all opened up. That's really hypocritical. And I've never been one to be shy away from an opinion. But if Calvin Ridley bit the dust, okay, and I'll tell you what, and I hate talking in the third person, but Harry the Greek never approved 18 parlays. Did you see his betting slips?
Yeah, crazy.
I did. That's nuts, man. 18 parlays. So let's put it this way. He wagered $1,500 roughly, and he's losing how many millions not to play this year?
Crazy. But
Go ahead.
defense of Roger Goodell, David's been in all these locker rooms. I can tell you when I walk in the locker room at Wrigley at Guaranteed Rate, there is a sign that says no gambling. And it is like the cardinal rule. You do some cocaine, we'll get you some treatment. We won't even take your money in the first 2 times. The third offense, we'll get you. Third strike. Gambling, you cannot have people watch games and then go, was that fixed? You can't have it. So
how much parity did you see this year in football? You've been watching it just as long as I have, well, not as long as David, but anyway, for many years like David. But how much parity did you see in football? I've never seen this much parity. And there's one common denominator. And I'm not saying it's fixed, but you know what? It's starting to get a little close to it. Look, man, I've been friends with Pete Rose for many years. He hung out with me over here at Tampa Bay Downs. We had the VIP room inside of there. I mean, for a good 15 years. Been to many casinos with him, and I know his opinion on things. It's going to infiltrate not only the management in the National Football League, it is going to get to the referees. It's going to get to the players. David, what stops them in the fourth quarter and they're going for a field goal and the ref is doing this? He looks like a third base coach for the Chicago White Sox. And that means give me 25 dimes that we're pushing him back 10 years and he's going to miss it. That's the problem with it. That's what I'm seeing happening.
They're going to have so much security and so much oversight. You're not going to be able to push that type of money. You want to make $100 parlay, and the coach says to Harry the Greek, "Hey Harry, you go buy a ticket. Let's do this. Here's 100 for me and 100." No one's going to catch you. You start betting 25 dimes on a game.
But you know what I'm saying? I was just throwing a number out there. I'm just saying if they threw that much money around, I mean, but what stops somebody from giving a signal from the field? You got a sports book sitting up there, but then again, I guess you can bet off this little thing called the telephone. But I don't know of any players, managers, coaches, or anything that has a phone in the dugout or on the sideline. I don't know, man. It's if it smells, it generally is.
Hey, I don't want to keep Cap away from his food, but I just want to throw in real quickly because you mentioned parlay and multiple parlays. Cap, weren't you like a rebound away from like an 8 or 10 thing parlay recently?
12.
Tell the story.
12.
I got to hear this story.
I had a 12 leg same game parlay on the Bulls 3 weeks ago, and freaking the guy on Atlanta, Danilo Gallinari. I need him over 5.5 rebounds, and he had 5, and he had one in his hands, and he fumbled it to somebody. I'm like,
what would you have won? What would you have won?
About $7,000.
Oh, yeah. And that's on a minuscule wager. I love those because the price, David, Mr. Schuster, as gamblers, we say the price always makes up for the pick. Correct, Cap?
Always. So,
hey, Cap, appreciate you joining us. I don't want to keep you away from that food and your beautiful wife. I hope to see you somewhere soon. Let's stay in contact.
Look forward to it. I'm a huge fan of yours, and I have a good Greek wife. So, Harry the Greek, you're in the club, kid.
You got a Greek wife? No wonder I love you.
There you go.
Oppa.
Hey, Cap, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
You're the man.
See you, David.
All right, we'll wrap it up on that. Harry, that was fun. I hope you enjoyed some of those stories. Cap's a great storyteller.
Oh, without question, he is. I actually have a question for you, David.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to put you on the line. Tell me, who do you like in the tournament? Because you know what? Hey, don't tell anybody, but the Greek's going to go to you for some advice for March Madness. Oh, yes, he is.
Well, I was going to say this. I mean, when it comes to the NBA, I feel like I know it inside out. This year, unlike a lot of other years, I did not really pour over college basketball that much. I gave you my little prediction of which I'll stand. I don't think, and this is not really going out that much of a limb, I don't think any of the 4 number ones are going to win the tournament. Somebody else, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, whatever, is going to win the tournament. I took a look at all these number ones. I've seen them play. There's no great college basketball team. There's some great players, but there's no great teams like in the past. So I don't know, honestly, Harry. I haven't even looked over some of these games. There's always upsets. It goes without saying. And I saw somebody earlier today say, instead of the 5-12, which is always like the big upset, 12 beating 5, This year it might be 13-4. Those will be where a lot of the upsets occurred. I'm looking at the 13-4. Illinois is a 4. They could lose to Tennessee Chattanooga. You heard Cap talking about that. UCLA is a number 4. I watched them a couple of times. Some of the West Coast games. Not impressed with them at all. So yeah, there's going to be upsets, but who wins the whole thing? I don't know. I really don't.
I got to tell you, I really liked Illinois' chances until I seen the game prior to playing Indiana. When Indiana was playing, I forgot who they were playing, but in the second half, now don't quote me, but I think they went on like a 23 to something run in the second half to beat the team prior to playing Illinois. And then when I looked at the line, Illinois was like a 6 and a 7 point favorite, and I'm like, why? I didn't get it. But you know what? Illinois is going to be a team to mess with in this tournament a little bit. That's my own personal opinion.
Well, they were supposedly a team to be reckoned with last year, and they lost in the first round to Loyola. So anything can happen. I mean, you talk about parity. There's parity in college basketball. Maybe not from 1 to 16, but there's a lot of parity in college basketball. And like I'm going to hold with my thought here, there's no great college basketball teams. There just aren't.
Nope. One question about football.
Chicago's
the Bears are having a big fire sale going on. I've noticed it hasn't really been anything with the exception of Tariq Cohen. He was a non-factor anyway. I personally think the loss is going to be really felt as one particular player, and it wasn't Mac. Glad to see him free up the space.
You gonna say Eddie Goldman?
Eddie Goldman. I understand he didn't play for the COVID year and everything else, and it takes a little while, especially when you're that size, to get back in the football shape. Well, what do they do there?
Okay, well, that's the whole thing. And you just made mention of the key word here, size, because he's a big dude, obviously, and he fits into a 3-4. The Bears are likely going to switch to a 4-3. That's for starters. Okay, and the coaches have new scheme, a completely new defensive scheme, and players like that, a big guy in the middle who is worth his weight in gold for a 3-4 is not for a 4-3. And this particular scheme is looking for, I don't want to call them smaller because these guys are giants compared to me, but they're more agile, they're more quick, and Eddie Goldman does not fit into that kind of scheme, so they say. And he wasn't very productive last year for a litany of reasons on top of it. So they're going for different kind of players. And plus they save money. I mean, I hate to say it, but
no, they saved a ton of money.
The bottom line is the bottom line.
Do you take a 32-year-old Robert Quinn? Do you keep him on the team for his leadership and work alongside Roquan Smith, or do you see what you can get for him? Because personally, after a season like that, I think they need to ship him, and that's just for the sake of possibly getting a player and even some draft capital. But what are you really going to get for a 32-year-old outside edge rusher?
Well, I'm sure they'll investigate it. I'm sure they already have investigated it. Again, going back to the Khalil Mack thing, the reason they only got a 2nd and a 6th. And you would think, okay, well, come on, he's still one of the premier, if he's healthy, defensive.
Is he?
Players. I said, if he's healthy,
right.
He's still, considered. Yeah, I say he'd still considered one of the premier if he's healthy, but he hasn't been. But the reason they only got a 2nd and a 6th is because the Chargers picked up all his salary. If the Bears had to split it, they probably would have gotten higher draft pick capital in return. So. I don't know what Quinn's salary is. I mean, he was great last year. The first year he was bozo. The second year he was, unbelievable.
I think they're going to really try to. I know they're in a full rebuild, but they're not on a full rebuild like everybody's thinking. They have a lot of pieces on offense. They have a running game. You have a quarterback. You have a wide receiver. By the way, Michael Gallup just signed for $50 million for 4 years. So more and more receivers are coming out. They're talking about Jarvis Landry not leaving Cleveland, possibly. So that pool is starting to tighten up. But I still think you have receivers on the Bears. I think they can draft one. I think they need to concentrate on getting a couple of offensive line pieces, and you know what? Then build that defense through the draft, and you have all that money.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. And let's face it, your new general manager or whatever you want to call him, he was an offensive lineman. So where do you think he's going to start building? Of course, he's going to build.
Without question.
And his franchise player is the young quarterback who needs protection. So that's where they will start. They'll add a couple of wide receivers through the draft and through free agency. teams seemingly stockpile in tight ends, so they're going to look for another or 2 tight ends. They need a cornerback. Listen, they need a lot of stuff, to be honest with you.
And last but not least, going to baseball, the Cubs, where do they finish in their division?
Oh, it's way too early even to.
I want to know. I want a preliminary from you.
3rd or 4th.
3rd or 4th. I actually have them 2nd. I think this team's going to surprise a lot of people. I really do.
Milwaukee and St. Louis are better teams. The Cubs are better than they certainly were at the end of last year because of their pitching. I mean, let's face it, Stroman was a great signing. Wade Miley, if he can, or whatever they signed him for, got him for. Hendricks will return to form. I'm confident of that. So those 3, you got all of a sudden, you got 3 pretty solid not number ones, 3 solid starting pitchers. After that, to fill in the blanks, their bullpen needs a lot of work.
No, that's why I think, and I think the Cubs will actually go after some bullpen help. How about the White Sox? Where do they finish?
1st in their division.
Oh, yeah.
Crapshoot once you get to the playoffs. It always is in every sport.
This team wins if they stay healthy this year and they win that division, they make a deep run, and I think they actually go to the World Series this year. I really do.
Injuries have a lot to do with everything, obviously. Yep. I'm going to run, Harry, because my stomach is
perfect. I'm going to let you go growl.
Hear that coming through the screen.
Anyway, thanks for everybody for tuning in. I'm Harry the Greek. And that's David Schuster.
All right, I'm going to stick with you. Just end the broadcast, and I'll say hello, and goodbye.
We didn't say goodbye yet, David.
So goodbye. Goodbye.
We'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy the show, everybody. Thank you very much. Have a great night.